Welcome to episode 48 of the Austin Downbeat. I'm Kat, your host. So happy to see you again. And I have a great show for you. But first, we start with the rundown. This covers March 28th through April 3rd. And here we go. On the 28th, we have Buffalo Hunt at Meanwhile Brewery. Also, Rosie Flores is going to be at the Continental Club Gallery upstairs. On the 29th, Julia Malanta is at So Far Sounds, as well as Ellis Bullard is at the White Horse. On the 30th, I don't have my glasses on, people. On the 30th, Patrice Pike is at the Saxon Pub, and Barbara Nesbitt and Susanna Schaffel are at the Continental Club upstairs in the gallery. You can try to go to that. On the 31st of March, you have Guy Forsyth over at Pootie's in the Hill Country. Jane Leo, who, by the way, shout out, they guest hosted KUTX on this last Sunday, and they did such a great job. I just want to say they were adorable and they played awesome songs. They are going to be at the Empire Control Room on the 31st, and Ray Wiley Hubbard is going to be at Green Hall. On April 1st, you have Scott Collins at the Omni Austin Hotel. Bob Schneider is playing out in the Hill Country at the Galleria. They do outdoor concerts. Great little venue there. Bring your kids. And Brian Wolf is at Neighbors Kitchen and Yard. On the 2nd, you have Andrea McGee. She is playing at Green Hall. And the Selfless Lovers are playing at Devil's Backbone Tavern. And last but not least, on April 3rd, you have Jamie Harris and Pat Byrne. They're doing their Texas to Tennessee tour, and they're going to be at the Saxon Pub. Get your tickets. If there are any left, get them now. All right, that does it for the rundown for this week. My guest today is Brandon Padier. Brandon has his latest record out called Years in the Wilderness. We talk about that. But let me just tell you, it's insane to me that there was ever a time where this man wasn't writing and wasn't singing. He's insanely talented, and he is very intentional with his words, both in conversation and in his songs. And I feel inspired personally after talking to him. I feel calmer. And you'll see why. We have a wonderful conversation about his life, his work, his art, and just the whole experience. And I just have to say, I enjoyed it immensely. So thank you to Brandon for stopping by. Please find him on all streaming services. Find his latest album, again, called Years in the Wilderness. There's a new album coming. We talk about that. And enjoy my conversation. He is an absolute delight. Brandon Padier. All right, here we go. Showtime. Brandon Padier, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I've been listening, as I normally do, like when I know you're coming on the show. We booked you a while ago, but then as it gets closer, I listen to the music, usually the day of, just to keep it really nice and fresh. Yeah. And I gotta say, I really love your sound. I also read your website. I think it kind of nails it. You do have this nostalgia about the way you sing and your voice, and just also too, like how you put your songs together and just the overall sound. But then there is something so beautifully unique about you just the same. So it's such a pleasure to listen to your music. It makes me want to go two-stepping.
Oh, hey, thank you so much. I mean, yeah, I actually just saw this video. It was either today or sometime yesterday. It was Geddy Lee was talking about like what makes originality. And it's when you have so many influences that it just becomes this like giant blend of things that like your voice kind of just steps out of it. And that's exactly how I feel. Like I love so many different types of music. I mean, Rush, of course. But yeah, love like 80s and 90s country. I love hip hop. I love rock and roll. I love folk music. I love like they're I I like to say pretty much across most things, I cast a very wide net with my loves. Because there's so much out there to love and to listen to. And it almost feels, at least personally to me, like artistically limiting to just stay in one lane, you know, and like
Yeah.
just write country songs or just write rock songs. And well, I've done those things to be like, okay, like here's a very straight ahead country song, or here's a like a 8 minute kind of jam, kind of Grateful Dead thing, or what here's like a power pop song.
Mm.
Um, I I'm constantly just trying to write and record and perform things that I want to listen to, and then I once I get that down, then I know that everyone else is going to listen to it. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, um, but I know there are people that will really dig it and really latch onto it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's translating, and that must be good to hear.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It's you know I'm not entirely crazy.
No, you're not. You're not. Um, Tell me a little bit about, I want to know everything. I have so many questions. But let's kind of start maybe more at the beginning. And you're from San Antonio. Do you
Yeah,
still live in San Antonio? Because I know you're in Austin area too, and I've seen you actually in Dripping Springs at the Songwriters. I actually
yeah.
popped into one of the little places you were playing at, and then popped out. So I have seen you live. Um,
Awesome.
but you're from San Antonio and you come from kind of a musical family. Did you always know though? I mean, was it always just an automatic that this is what you want to do?
No, so it's funny. I didn't know I my family had a musical background until I started like taking piano lessons, and I picked up the guitar and everything kind of exploded out of that. Um, but I remember I told my mom I'd been taking piano lessons for a couple of years. I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar. And she was like, oh, okay. Um, you know, your grandparents, they played music. He was like, he taught himself how to play guitar, and like your dad taught himself how to play bass. I'm just sitting there like, wait, what are you talking about?
Who
He's
am
like,
I?
yeah, exactly. It's like a weird, uh, it's like in the comics when the Kents tell Superman about his origin. It's like, oh, we found you in a field. It's like, wait a minute, hold on, pause. What's going on here? Um,
Mom, you are my mom, right?
and yeah, so I remember we went over to my Mima's house um, to get my papa's guitar. He'd passed away by then, but she still had his electric guitar and still had my dad's bass. And she was like, "Oh, like here's this like CD, and like here's all these tapes." And I was like, "Wait, what is it?" She's like, "Well, the tapes are well, when we had our like gospel family band, and the CD your uncle put together um before they were in a gospel group. My papa was in a western swing band like in the 60s and 70s in San Antonio, and they had like a weekly radio show where they'd come on and play like the hits of the time, you know, and like some of their own. I was like, wait a minute, what the heck? So uh from there, I just like really kind of clicked in my brain. I was like, oh, so like I'm like this like insane drive and desire of mine like um is almost hereditary in a way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I knew from like the moment I picked up the guitar and I just started learning how to play, that I was like, yeah, this is it for me. Like there's nothing else matters. Like what is school anymore? Like what are I still love sports. Like I remember um my mom loves to keep a lot of things for me as a child, and there's like a distinct like separation in my life where like one year it was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, oh, I want to play basketball, and I still love basketball.
Mhm.
Like literally the next year I was like, I want to play music. It's like
Mhm. Yeah.
shift. Like once I caught it, it was just it hooked me good.
Yeah. Why, other than, I mean, I'm sure at the young age, the hereditary kind of feeling that then when you learned that apart about your history and your heritage, that probably helped. But at some point, did other things start to catch for you as far as like, why do you do this? What is your why for continuing to do it even to this day?
Yes. Oh man. I that's a it's an interesting question. I think for me, like it's not even about like having a family that did it. Um, I mean, I remember the first time I heard like Led Zeppelin, or the first time I heard Bob Dylan. It just kind of blew my mind open. Like I feel like it does for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, at some point in time, once I started playing, I knew like that there was really nothing else that was going to kind of fill that space like in my soul, really,
Yeah.
that besides music. um and yeah, I remember telling my mom, like when I was trying to get it to like across to them, like this is what I want to do, this is what I'm gonna do like with my life. I was like, look mom, I don't care if I have to like sleep at the bar that I'm playing that night, if I'm going from town to town. And that's obviously she took that very well. But uh but I was so committed to doing it and to this driving force and factor into my life that I couldn't see myself doing anything else. And I have worked other jobs. Like I worked in coffee for a bit on kind of every side. And I've taught music lessons on and off. But for me, the writing and performing of it is where my heart truly lies and where I feel most complete.
Mm. Yeah, it feels almost like because I've talked to so many people, it's like a soul kind of alignment when
Mm,
you're really doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know?
definitely.
And
Yeah.
how lucky you are to experience that and fat to find it, you know,
Mm,
to have a little spark, maybe your mom made you take piano lessons, but that led you to be like, hey, there's guitars. I want to learn that. You know what I
mm.
mean? Isn't it funny how life just sort of happens and you get to look back and be like, wow, if I would have never taken a piano lesson, I might not have wanted to play guitar. Maybe.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a distinct possibility. It's funny. Like I like to say that life is so incredibly random that it's not random at all, almost, where it's just like it just feels like everything happens to you all at once and nothing's ever like in a straight line at all. But then you look back and it's this uh like wonderful little map, like a river kind of
Yeah.
cutting through. um but yeah, I think I think music would have hit me um one way or the other, like because I mean, even just growing up and like hearing music and listening to it, like that that was kind of like the first thing that really like kind of like clicked on in my brain for me. Like my first musical hero growing up was Elvis. Actually, I had his like greatest hits CD, and like uh I burned a proverbial hole through it, through that 2 disc thing. Yeah, and then I found, I mean, all the great and classic artists that everyone names for a good reason.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so but I can definitely say that like without like actually like jumping into those piano lessons, and piano is the only thing that, I mean, besides like I was in band, and so I learned like brass instruments or whatever. But besides that, like piano was the only thing I ever took lessons for. Like everything else, I just picked up and just kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
Um, just because that's all I wanted to do was just like sit there in my room when I got home from school and just like figure out how to play like Over the Hills and Far Away, or how to play the solo to Let It Be, or try and figure
Mm.
um like Don't Think Twice, and just um and honestly, for the longest time, I wanted to be a guitar player. Like that was my thing. I was like, I don't want to sing. I don't want to. Like I just want to. I want to be the Keith Richards. I want to be the Jimmy Page. I want to be the guitar hero.
Right.
And then it shifted because I realized no one wanted to sing, and I was like, well, I don't want to be in a band where nobody sings. That's not fun. Like I mean, like I love like instrumental bands and noise music and all that sort of thing, but like for me, I'm like I love great pop hooks and great melodies. So I was like, well, I guess I'll do it. So I took it up very um, unwillingly, and it took me a long time to really find my voice and really like love my voice.
Mm.
I was a horribly shy child. Even into high school, I was a pretty shy, and I'm a very introverted person in my daily life. Um, but yeah, just through necessity, it came to me, and kind of similarly with writing songs, I it never occurred to me that like that not that it wasn't normal, but for me, I was like, oh yeah, all the people that I love write songs. Like I should also write songs because I want to be like them. Like I loved playing their songs, but for me, my love really came with making my own things.
Hmm. It absolutely blows my mind, like the amount of work that you have created and self-recorded and self-produced, and like the body of work that you have out there already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is really like, it's kind of mind-blowing that there was ever a version of you, number one, that was like reluctant to sing or hadn't found your voice. Because listening to you now and all of your stuff, it's like there's so much power and there's so much like I picture like tree rings in your voice, like just the stories and the evolution of like life lived in your voice. And then just the body of work to be like, oh, I wasn't really sure about writing songs, but now it's like, it's
Yeah.
kind of insane. I mean, is there a part of you that can look back on that and be like, wow, I'm really proud of myself for what I create? I mean, you created it out of nothing.
Definitely. I I tend to be in good control of I like to say like everyone has an ego, just that some people's egos aren't healthy. And so
Right.
if like I have a very healthy understanding of my ego, and so like yeah, it's I'll look back on it every now and then, and I'm like, dang, like I've done all that, like that's wild. um and I'm proud of myself. I know some people
Good.
don't like to go back and listen to their work. But I do. Like I don't like, and I think for me it's because like kind of circle back to what I said before is like write and wrote songs that I wanted to listen to, that I wanted to hear, that I didn't think were in the world. Um, and like yeah, I can go back and be like, oh, like if I recorded this today, like I would have done
Mm-hmm.
it differently, or whatever. But there's a joy there in kind of remembering what I was like when I wrote,
Mm.
like what I was thinking about when I was writing those songs, and then just seeing the evolution of myself as a writer, and a performer, but also just as a person. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I loved it, and especially when I find like really old songs that I like wrote when I was like 17, and I was like,
Aw.
wow, this is really bad, but I'm so glad I did it, because you have to. It's
Of course.
it's the thing that happens. Like you're gonna write bad songs, and that you just have to be okay with that because it leads to better songs.
Yeah. Let's talk about your latest release, Years in the Wilderness. So good. It's just so good. What is wilderness for you? Why that title for the body of work, and what is wilderness for you?
Yeah. So years in the wilderness for me, um, I I I grew up in a very religious household, and I would consider myself still pretty um, spiritual, and there are a lot of tenets I still kind of hang on to.
Mm.
Uh, and I've always loved like the beautiful imagery and poetry that is included in the Bible. And when I originally came up with that title, I mean, you can go back to like John the Baptist or Jesus, and when he went out into the wilderness before he started his mission or however you call it.
Mhm.
Um, and for me, it signifies this time in my life where I was having to grow up really fast, and at the same time, I'm still developing as a person, with my loves and my dislikes, and uh, how I am like learning to work with people or get along with people, how I want to be loved, how I don't want to be loved,
Mhm.
um, and yeah, just that time of real beauty, but also real sorrow and loss at the end of it, but also finding your way out of that into a new experience and a new way of life, a new way of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard some loss. Heard some of that, and it just, you have excellent imagery without it being like, lyrically, I'm really drawn to the visuals that lyrics give. I'm so like, that's just, I mean, I love a good melody and I love a good hook and all that, but for me, I'm very lyric driven. And I just love the words that you choose. It doesn't, they feel so intentional and not overdone. They serve the song so well. You really have a gift in doing that. And all the while, so much is going on, right? Like a whole song is happening. But yeah, I just find myself getting so lost in the imagery and the words that you're choosing. It's just so good. So anyway, that's a tangent. I just remember listening like
Yeah,
Last of the Breed. I have Last of the Breed really kind of, I mean, there were a few that really stuck out for me,
sure.
but Last of the Breed was like, wow, this is what I feel like. These are the good old days. Like
Yeah,
that whole thing just made all my senses kind of light up, you know?
love to hear that.
Yeah, just so good. People listening, watching, just listen to all of it. It's so good.
What-
It's so good. I forgot what my question was. So wilderness. Yeah, talking about loss, just kind of moving through those kind of growth years, right? Do you still like your feel still in that phase of your life?
but no, I would definitely consider where I'm at now to be a new phase of life. I mean, for like a brief like background on the record, I wrote that like during a period of time where my marriage was dissolving, um, and I was kind of leaving that space and moving into a new um, like path of life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so in like in most aspects, I mean, because I'm no longer married with that person, I'm in a different phase of life. But I think also um, just through growing and understanding, and just getting a little bit wiser, I think I'm also a little bit further down the road than I was then.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and and of course, like losing family members or losing a marriage is never easy, but um, I I learned a lot from it, and my ex partner and I were still friends,
Mm.
um,
Good.
and like so we've talked about that, and like amidst the loss, there's still a, like I can still think on the good of those times, but I'm also very glad to be where I am at now, with all this new experience and knowledge in my life, for the people in my life now that I can love and care for better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What comes after Wilderness? What's the next record going to be called?
Ooh, so you're catching me at a good time because I actually just kind of solidified it in my head. Oh man, you got it. This is probably, yeah, this is like the first reveal. Uh, but in all seriousness, so the next record is going to be called Kintsugi,
Mhm.
which, uh, if those who are unfamiliar, that is the Japanese term for um, sort of remaking broken pottery. So whenever a vase is broken, what they'll do is they'll remake it and they'll fire and inlay gold in those cracks. So the cracks are highlighted, but it makes it all the more beautiful. And so yeah, the record where we should be recording soon. Um, not doing it myself this time because 3 albums worth of doing that, I'm a little worn out. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
have the band come in. We're gonna go to a studio here in San Antonio and lay it down. And it's about finding beauty from the brokenness and being a new product, a more beautiful um, like person from those things.
I honestly can't think of a better. I mean, I think that you're just nailing it. You're
Thank you.
nailing it. Yeah. Such a beautiful visual and very fitting for the story and the evolution of you as a person and also your art. I
Mm.
cannot wait to hear it. It's gonna be awesome. Um, so let's see. Oh my gosh. What do you have? So, we're still kind of fairly into a new year. What do you, I mean, it sounds like your main focus is going to be recording this new record. What else do you have going on the burners, and what kind of goals are you like a goal kind of setting guy, or what's
Definitely.
in your horizon?
The goals right now is to record the new record, um, and also I wanted my big goal. Oh, my dog just came in the room.
That's great. I love dogs.
Hi, just say hello. I'll bring this down to you.
Oh, hi, buddy.
Moose,
What's his name? Moose?
Moose, yes, yeah.
Sweetheart.
Right. Um, so record the record, and then I want to do a out of state tour because I feel like you live in Texas and you can tour and play in Texas forever,
Sure.
and make a good living there. And I feel like I've done a good job of that, but I really want to just start making um, that stretch outside and hit these other places that have venues that I've loved for years and want to go play myself and
Mhm.
see my friends and the people that I know that are around the U.S. Um, and perform for them because they haven't seen me in however long because they've been living there and yeah,
Mhm.
to expand my um, I guess in today's terms like listenership or whatever you call it. But yeah, I just want to get my songs out to more people. Just yeah, keep on uh, just living this weird and wild dream that I'm like grateful to have been a part of.
Yeah. How do you manage that? I obviously talk to a lot of musicians. And there's always this side of it too, where it's like, it's tough. I was just, at South by Southwest, Sea Boys did this thing called Soko Stomp, and Ian Moore. Do you know Ian Moore?
Mhm.
You know of him?
Yeah.
I love him. He did a show and I was there, and he was like, and I love I love the honesty. Ian's very good. He's just such a heart-filled person, similar to you and how you feel. And he said something before he started playing, and he was like, you know, this experience, he's talking about his organization Smash, which is an offshoot of Sims here in this city, but it's
Mhm.
for mental health. And he was just, he made a point of being like, this is not easy to do what we do, and there's a whole kind of dark side to it. And I think I really thought that was valuable that he mentioned that and kind of brought that to light for a bunch of South by Southwest people just woohoo drinking and wanting to have a good time. I loved that he mentioned that because it sort of wrapped the whole kind of enchilada
Yep.
experience, you know? How do you make it work? Are there areas where you have to have a little more focus? Like, how do you discipline yourself to, manage it all, I guess? Can't be
Yeah.
easy.
No. I will say with confidence, I have not figured it out yet. But I do my very best. Yeah, so I mean, uh, for anyone that kind of follows uh, me or what I do, I'm playing all the time. I play 5, 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
Basically wherever. Like I'll bump up to Houston or Austin or like here in San Antonio and just kind of hit these certain spots. Um, but also, I like to think of it as like concentric circles. So when I first started out, I was doing shows mainly here in San Antonio, just different breweries or venues that would have me. Um, and then like got like as I started playing more and got more confident and more people started kind of digging into what I was doing, I just like brought the circle out a little bit further and did that, and I brought the circle out a little bit further. And so that for me is like how I can think about it, and I can kind of do those actions of booking places outside
Mm.
without necessarily going insane or going broke. Because I have a lot of friends that will go out and they'll just kick a tour out to the P&W and come back and they'll maybe break even.
Mm.
And as much as I love music, I like if money was not an issue, yeah, I would do that 100%. But yeah, that's part of it. It's having to also make a living. I'm just glad that I can do it doing the thing that I love. But yeah, it's certainly not the easiest. And whenever I um, I try and stay pretty active so my brain doesn't like go entirely too deep down the well, and so I'll walk moose. We're right close to the section of the river walk that we'll kind of walk down just to get outside, clear my head, maybe listen to some new music or
Mhm.
experience life and um, but basically anything that I love to cook. My girlfriend and I, we love to cook together because I can really kind of not necessarily turn my brain off, but I can focus into the making, like using my hand.
Yes.
And I learned that years ago. My mentor and I were talking about just how I go kind of crazy when I was younger, and even still now, because I just get so in my head if I'm like not playing music or whatever. And he said that something that he had read or learned is that for people that whose work is more like mental, more internal, the best thing for them to do is to do something external. So very like work with your hands, cook, do like woodworking, mow the lawn, whatever it is that gets you outside of your so you're doing
Mhm.
outside. And that's been a huge help for me. I mean, I love to exist on the inside and like read books and listen to records and watch shows, but to keep myself normalized, I also do these other things that yeah, kind of keep me on the the sane and straight and narrow path. Um, and yeah, that's how I try to do it. I think that's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, just reach out to managers and booking agents and like, can you help me, please?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have this visual of you knitting. Have you ever knitted?
I haven't. I uh, honestly, that is a desire of mine. 'Cause I love the way it works, but I always think about like I don't know if it was cartoons or what when like people were learning to knit and they would always like puncture their thumbs. I'm like, I don't want to
Oh,
do
shit.
that.
Yeah, they're
like
not.
like prick their fingers.
Yeah, no, they're not sharp. So that's the
Oh,
good news. Yeah.
yeah.
You'll be fine. I don't know. I just have this visual of you knitting. So I feel like it's something maybe you'll come to it. What are your biggest challenges right now?
Hmm. Honestly, my biggest challenge is uh, wrangling well, like 4 or 5, including me, members of my band together with
Yeah.
so my guitar player and my pedal steel player. I mean, obviously he plays pedal steel, but my guitar player also plays pedal steel, and that's a very in demand instrument right now.
Yes.
And so I have to be very dedicated to like scheduling practices way ahead and booking our like shows way ahead. So I like they'll give me like first or second option. But if it's not within enough time, they're like, hey man, sorry, like this guy's had me booked for like 4 months. I'm like, oh god, like,
Yeah.
um, but I love them, and I like they like the like I when I made the group, I I'd always wanted to play my songs in a full band context.
Hmm.
But I I love the sound of a really good like jamming like rock and roll band. And they hit all those uh, like they check all the boxes for me. Like they're great guys. They're a good hang. They're absolutely brilliant musicians.
Mm.
Um, and because I'm a very big like deadhead and jam kind of guy. I will like if we're playing and I'm just thinking if we're in a song, I'm like, yeah, let's try something. And I'll do a left hand turn on them and it's like, let's see what happens. And they're right there. Like we've just been playing together for so long that uh the chemistry is unparalleled. Um,
Mm. That's
but
awesome.
that's definitely the biggest challenge for me right now. And then just yeah, just continuing to try and grow and continue to be heard. I feel like all artists have a very love hate relationship with like social media. Like it's
Mhm.
I would much rather like not be like having to be on it and like make posts and everything. Um,
Yeah.
so trying to not get get overly obsessed with the world of Instagram and uh, live in the real world.
Yeah. It is a delicate balance. I'm right there with you. And this comes up pretty much every conversation. It's such a, but at the same time, I like to also remind myself that, I was born in an era and grew up in an era where we didn't have free advertising and a free like channel in our pockets. And so, yeah, as annoying as some of it can be, I also think it's just such a gift too to promote what we do and connect with people. Like it's
Hmm.
so cool. Like you and I met over that,
Yeah,
like we were in each other's ethers and I don't know, whoever reached out to whoever and it was like, yeah, man, I dig what you do. You dig what I do. Like what? Where
yeah, no,
else, when else in life could we have done that? So as much as I kind of can
yeah,
get a little tired of it and I take breaks and then I'll be like, okay, well, I want to connect with my people again and tell them I love them so much, you know? So
definitely.
I think it's okay to ebb and flow.
Yeah,
Uh,
of
yeah,
course.
for sure.
I think that's just how most of life works anyway. You
Yeah.
fall in love with something, you fall out of it, and then come back around to it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's so smart is like being able to take breaks. I mean, I'm a huge fan of like scheduling posts just so I don't even have to like get on it.
Mhm.
But then when I want to and I want to like connect with people or talk with some friends that like I'm friends with on there, but like maybe have never like met, in person and kind of chat with them, see what they're up to. Um, yeah, it's a great like
Mhm.
social media as a whole has been really, really great for connection,
Yeah.
with from far out.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you use it too with the right intention. I know for me, I'm always checking, making sure that I'm staying real connected to the whole, to my why, like what's the stay really clear on that, keep the bumpers up, right? So that I don't ever veer off and get away from the whole reason of doing this. I love connecting with people, and I love connecting with people that do what you're doing and that do it so well like you do it. I just think there's so much value in the way that you're living your life and the choices that you're making, and also the humanity in all of it, right? Like I think it's so awesome for that, for you to come on and for people to come on and kind of pull back the curtain and be like, yeah, this is great, this sucks, this is hard, this is what I love, like all of it, because um people listen to your music and look up to you and think, I think it's easy for masses of people to sort of dehumanize in a way, the people that they look up to, and it feels almost far away. So anyway, you get it. I
Yep.
appreciate you so much coming on. What's the
Yeah.
best way for people to support you? I say that I know the answer, but I guess I just really, one of the biggest drives of this show is that you get support in the form of dollars. I know that likes and follows and reposts and all of that, same for me, super valuable and so sweet when people do it. It means the world. Um, but I also want you to have dollars. So what's the best way for people to give you dollars?
Ooh, I mean, for me, it's always been like, come to a show, come to as many shows as you're able to. I know some people, um, uh, I mean, even some really good friends of mine, they'll come to one and they won't come for a couple of months, because they think that they'll hear the same song, or they're like, oh, like I know what's going on there.
Yeah.
But especially if it's with the band, like, man, each night is different. Like I said before, like I love the Grateful Dead. They're one of my favorite groups of all time, and you can listen to their like the live records that they put out. Even like they have some that are like multiple night stands at whatever venue that they're at, and they'll play the same song, and it sounds totally different. So that's
Mm,
you're gonna experience something different. Like maybe one night we're a bit more leaning into the countryside, and so you're gonna get to two-step more. Maybe we lean a little bit more like psychedelic, and you're gonna get to like jam and dance around, have a good time. Like you never know really what you're gonna expect, if you come. So that's why that, and then um, yeah, I love that people stream the record and share the record, but I mean, Bandcamp, and they've been doing it for a couple of years now. I mean, they'll do their like first Friday of the month. They take like nothing off the top of the albums, and so like I mean, you can buy it whenever, any time, and I appreciate it. But especially those days, like
yeah.
I get all the proceeds from the record, and uh,
Mm,
or if you come to a show, like I usually have copies for sale. So yeah, and then I I haven't set it up yet, because I've been juggling like 20 other things. But I think I'm gonna set up like a drop shipping site on my website to buy merch as well, so people will be
mm.
able to. You don't necessarily have to like come see me to get a shirt or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and yeah, if you physical copies are also available online, so that's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I need to start pushing Bandcamp Friday more and reminding
Mm,
people. Thank you for that reminder from me, because I feel like, every once in a while I'll see it and I'll be like, yes, I need to make sure on those Bandcamp Fridays that I push that out for people. So that people do that. It's a wonderful thing that they do. Yeah.
definitely.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. It always goes by so fast.
I,
I know.
my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of what you do. And you also just seem like a really kind human. And I think it's good for people to see that too. You just seem very calm. Are you a calm person?
Yeah, some people say I'm too calm. They're like, do you not feel anything?" I was like, "No, I feel very deeply. I just like, I don't know. I try to keep a pretty level playing field."
You know what?
In my
It's funny. My son is the same way. I have an almost 16-year-old son, and he is like the coolest cucumber. And my daughter and I always are like he moves slow and intentional. He's just very deliberate. He's a very talented artist, and it's all in, I think it's all in here, and I love that about him. It is so opposite of me and Harper. But I just love that about him. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's a special thing to see in people like that because um I don't think it's normal, but I love it. I love um knowing people that are like have their internal worlds and are deep feelers and deep thinkers. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. I'm not kind of similar to what we talked about with songwriting. I choose my words very carefully because I think words are so vital and so important and do and mean so much. That
Mhm.
uh, for me personally, I'd rather say less in it and have it mean much more than say a lot and have it butchered a little bit than what I was really trying to get at.
Yeah, diluted. Well, I feel inspired, and I feel like to just take a deep breath, calm down. Can I just talk to you every day to start my day? Can we set up a hotline, 1-800 Brandon? And when you need to just feel calm and be reminded, I feel like we should set that up for people.
That sounds perfect. Yeah, it'll be just like just an ongoing thing, almost like a guided meditation to just talk you down.
Yeah, you could actually do like press one if you're just need a little pick me up, press two, and just have them pre-recorded. And then you could make some coin. I'm gonna take a little cut, but you could make
Hey,
some mad coin.
get together on it for sure.
I want to do it. We'll talk about that on the next episode. All right, Brandon, it's an absolute pleasure to finally see your face and meet you and talk to you and spend some time with you. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. That does it for another episode of the Austin Downbeat. Thanks to Brandon Padier for coming on, and be sure to check him out on all streaming, especially Bandcamp, and grab his stuff, stream his stuff, add him to a playlist, follow him, like him, subscribe to him, and just overall support and love him. He's amazing. We will see you next time. Bye.